I am a man of honor, integrity, and promise. I pursue all righteousness. I love my family. I will not put my family in harm's way. There is nothing that will keep me from doing the right thing. I am an ambassador of hope and a man of discipline. I am a man worth following. I am a TYRO.
Welcome to TYRO TV. I'm Ron Tiarina.
And I'm Cathy Tiarina. And if you don't know who we are, Ron and I did 15 years in the prison system. Ron serving time on the inside and my sons and I doing time on the outside.
You know, what's amazing about that whole experience, nobody by looking at us can ever tell that Cathy was on welfare. I did 15 years in prison. It's not on us.
Right.
How did that happen?
Because thankfully that experience caused us to invest in our family and become strong and healthy. And that's the only true success, is when your family is stable and strong, then you can reach for the rest of your dreams. And so that's what this series is about. We're actually in a multi-part series talking about how to build a strong relationship in spite of incarceration.
So we've been talking about culture, how to maintain and build this healthy family, despite the culture you're in, how to build a new one in the midst that you're in, or the mess that you're in, right? And how to build trust.
Right, which is foundational to any healthy relationship.
And phone calls. You know, these are your means of communication, your means to build a healthy, strong family using principles and how to engage, how to leverage the things that are around you.
Leverage that 10 or 15 minutes to build a strong family and to build connections instead of create chaos.
And
today
we want to talk about letters. And that's a
and letters can be
easy,
typed letters like via email, or they can be letters that you actually send in snail mail. Either way, we're going to call letters anything that you write out and is sent to each other.
You know, sometimes you could write so many letters and you run out of things to say. We want to talk about that. How do you constantly stir it up, bring excitement into your relationship by letters? You know, how do you continually talk more about who you're becoming and listening, even in the letter that you're going to get? Do you read between the lines? Are you reading too much between the lines? You know, how do you know what they're really saying in
How
letter?
do you use your words as a tool to build that strong bridge to each other in spite of the distance? And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So stay tuned and we'll be right back.
TYRO Dads will help you to see who you really are on the inside by coming to terms with your past, present, and future. You will begin to move forward by using your time on the inside to transform yourself. We know you're not the only one serving time. Your family is too. Overcoming the issues that existed prior to and during incarceration are often more than what many families can survive. TYRO Dads has a unique method of reaching and healing families based on Ron and Cathy Tiarina's own personal experiences. TYRO Dads works exclusively with incarcerated fathers who have minor children. The program lasts for 10 weeks and focuses on intensive character development. You'll be taught to take responsibility for your actions, to own it. You'll be prepared to overcome the obstacles of incarceration and transition back into your home and community, both successfully and permanently. Upon successful completion of this program, you will earn the title of TYRO, which means a warrior, someone learning something new. You will be one of the honored, a man worth following. If you think you have what it takes to be a TYRO, or you want to know more, contact your local project facilitator or your institution staff.
If you think you have what it takes to be a TYRO or just want to know more, contact your local Ridge Project facilitator or your caseworker.
Welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron.
And I'm Cathy. And today we're talking about how to leverage letters in order to build a strong relationship between you and your partner.
Yeah, but I would write letters to you sometimes and never get nothing back. You know, how do you leverage a letter that's a one-sided relationship?
Well, sometimes when you first started writing letters, they were books about nothing. And so it was like trying to read through, and he'd say, "Did you read the letter yet?" It would be like an 18-page letter. And it would start with,
Dear Cathy. I remember spending so much, I remember spending so much time smashing those paper. You know, I got a 15, 18-page letter, and I got to put it in one envelope, and I only have that embossed envelope, so it cannot come back to me. So I would smash it so deep thinking that it would weigh less.
And then it would be COD when I got it, which is collect on delivery. And so I'd be paying my 50 cents for the letter. But yeah, so at the very beginning, the there has to be intention and purpose in the letters. And sometimes, even though you're intentional and you have purpose as you write the letter, you can't expect and wait on a response, because you do your part to invest or make those deposits in that bank of your relationship. And eventually, you'll start to receive a return on it. But you can't expect an immediate return.
That is key to understanding why you're there where you're at, understanding what lesson are you supposed to learn and receive so you can go on to the next level of humanity, or your next grade in life, you know, to where I'm investing, I'm writing letters. And I remember once Cathy said, why are you not writing the boys letters anymore? They're waiting for a letter. I said, but they don't write me back. And Cathy's response was, they're only 5.
Right,
You
like,
know,
what do you want?
You know, so I had to really come to terms that as long as I was doing my part and really investing and writing something that's worth reading, for one thing, not just talking to be talking like we do on the phones or do on a visit, and we're going to talk about visits later, but...
And if there's an ask or there's something that you've talked about, because, you know, we talked about before, so if this is a problem, if the problem's here, then this becomes an issue between you, and it's actually creating a chasm between you. And what you want to do is you want to move it out in front of you so that now you as a team are addressing it. So it's okay to include those things in your letter if you as a team are addressing that issue.
But if you're looking at this at your own vantage point and you're... As an issue and you're writing a letter, it's more likely always going to come out hostile, you know, and you're and you're attacking versus helping or really trying to fix or find a solution.
Solve it together as partners. And so it's really important that you weigh out before you put something in a letter. I know initially Ron would want to discuss issues in a letter, and he'd say, well, remember when we talked about that and you got upset and you said this and I said this and I said that? Well, I didn't want to read that. You know, I was struggling out here with my sons and struggling to overcome all the prejudice and all of the opposition out here to just staying with Ron, that I didn't want to open up a letter that I thought was, yes, a connection that's going to reaffirm why it is I'm staying with him. Instead, if I would read it and instead it was like cut, it'd be like, oh, and I'm even further exhausted and discouraged.
So what I began to do is really, I really began to rethink this whole thing about letters and our relationship. So I started all over. I remember the first letter I wrote to you with this mindset, you know what, let's just start all over. And so I started writing a letter with introducing myself, you know, who I am, my name, what my favorite color was. And as silly as it sounds, I really took the time to invest in a relationship with Cathy by the first one is, let me be your friend. Let's become friends again. I know we're husband and wife, but right now we're adversaries. And I wanted to take that concept adversary, I wanted to remove it as far away from us as we could and become friends. And that took really the time to, first of all, I had to relearn how to write. My writing was so horrific, right?
It was.
Because I didn't care.
So if I couldn't read it, if you write letters to the boys, I would just make it up, because I was like, I don't even know what this really says. But since I
didn't know that till later. Which is,
they can't read, I'm going to make it up.
You know, so I don't know what all you said. But
it was all good.
So what I did was I just started practicing writing again, taking the time. Instead of writing a letter, laying on my bunk, on my back, and then write like this, thinking that somebody's going to be able to read it, I was intentional about, you know what, I want to take the time to learn how to teach myself how to write where it's legible, so it's not only sore on the eyes, but it's easy reading, and I'm intentional about what I'm going to say in my letters. So in order to enhance my vocabulary in my letter writing, I had to read books. You know, so I had to go outside, what I normally don't do. When I was on the streets, I never read. So as I began to read books on autobiographies and other things, it began to increase my vocabulary and help me to navigate on expressing how I was feeling in a way that was receivable.
Right, and something else that really quickened inside of me, that he really cared about what he was doing. Initially, he was writing letters to me. They were sloppy, didn't care if they had misspelled words, just like basically, well, I can be real with you. And that's true, he can be real with me. But what took it to the next level and really earned my respect for him and earned my admiration of him is that I noticed his letters became neater and that he was taking the time that if he didn't know how to spell the word, he was looking it up and he was spelling it correctly. And that told me, wow, he's investing a lot of time and energy in this so that I can read it and so that I have a wonderful experience as I open up this letter and see what he's taken time to invest in me and in us.
And, you know, I really enjoyed owning a dictionary in prison. You know, out here you have, what is that called on a computer? If you spell a word, spell check. Spell check, you know.
Yeah.
You got all that technology today, but in prison, you know, you got a dictionary. Take time to if you don't know how to spell a word, not only can you ask somebody, and don't be embarrassed about asking for help. If you're having still a hard time writing a letter or you don't know what to say, I know it's sometimes you don't want to be that intimate with somebody to share what you're feeling
That
about
vulnerable.
that vulnerable. But you know what? You're in prison. This is a place where you can reinvent yourself, redefine the way your makeup is, and when you come out, you're not only more secure in your manhood or who you are, but you're more secure in your relationship with your wife because you took the time to become better, not bitter.
So when we come back, we're going to share how are letters important on the outside as you transition home and how they're important and what they mean to your family and your loved ones. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Playing catch, basketball, laughing, and enjoying each other's company. These are all normal things on the outside, but many times are missed in a visitation setting. TYRO Dads brings the same fun experience to the inside through Family Days. As a TYRO Dad, you have the opportunity to participate in this fantastic event. Family Day is designed to allow fathers and families to engage with each other through activities designed to stimulate communication, learning, and play. Family Days will not only be a highlight for you, but for your children as well. The Ridge Project has strategically developed Family Day as an opportunity to help you connect with your child throughout your separation and help both of you develop skills to continue building your relationship when you return home.
If you think you have what it takes to be a TYRO or just want to know more, contact your local Ridge Project facilitator or your caseworker.
Welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron.
And I'm Cathy. And today we're talking about building healthy relationships through letter writing. And it's part of our series, Building Healthy Relationships in Spite of Incarceration.
You know, letter writing is a key escape route, if you will, and I hate to use that word, but it gives you a sense to escape out of your environment, and when you're in, you can get into a letter and you can write a story in a letter. You know, you can share your experiences, what you're learning, what you thought you knew, but it takes a sense of trust. You know, back to that, the first foundation, you got to be able to trust who's ever going to read that letter, your significant other, even your children, when you're being honest. You know, the letter I wrote you, I remember where I apologized to you for letting you down. You know, this was a letter where I had to swallow all my ego and all my pride, and I had to be real with not only myself but with Cathy, and tell her I was sorry for not being the man that she saw when we got married, not being the father that I said I was going to be for our children.
And what that did for me was it encouraged me that what I was fighting so hard for, what I was working and putting so much effort and investment in, was actually worth that investment. So as Ron would write me letters and they would encourage me and I would see the change that was happening in him from the style of his handwriting to his spelling to the things he was saying, the way that he was talking to me, it just confirmed that this is right, that we are making progress as a family. And I remember coming home and running home to the mailbox and saying, look, I got a letter from Dad. And Blake at one point is like, well, it's just a letter. And I'm like, no, this is not just a letter. And that is so important that your family has that experience of it's not just a letter. This is a connection. This is a moment to spend with you. And so I would take the letter and I would put it in my bedroom and I would decide I'm not going to read it until the kids are in bed and everything's quiet. And then I'm going to spend time with Ron and just read that letter and really hear what it is he's saying. And then I'm going to write him back.
And how that impacted me on my side when they would call mail call. Or the COs would come and pass your mail during 4 o'clock count, right? And they would come by, and I would get a letter from Cathy or from Blake and Brandon. I would get a letter, and in my mind, this is what I would say to myself, I got a visit today. You know, oh man, I remember that. I mean, literally, I got a visit. So I would take the time, open it up, and I would just literally, nothing else mattered in the world I was living in, because I was home, I was with Cathy, I was with Blake and Brandon, and we were a family. I got a visit today.
We got a glimpse of what our family was going to be like. And so if you're not getting letters, then that means that there's a lot of bridges that have been burnt. And so the experience that you're creating is not one that people want to revisit. And so here's your opportunity to begin to write letters expecting nothing in return as you write letters to your family, because that hope and that joy, it might be first met with skepticism, but it will soon be met with relief and with joy that you are changing, that you are caring, that you are investing in other people.
You know, there's a TV series, I don't think it's still out anymore. It was called My Name is Earl. You remember that one? And Earl, you know, he did a lot of wrong to a lot of people. And one day he woke up to the reality, I have to make it right. And so he began to find the people that he wronged and did whatever he could to make it right. And so one way that letters help is to make it right. And Cathy said, if you're not getting letters, that's because bridges have been burnt, ideas have been trashed, and dreams have been shattered. And so you got to come to a place of owning that portion of that experience. So begin writing letters to people, whether they receive it or not. You got to do your part. You got to write them a letter asking them for forgiveness. And whether they receive it, that's not on you, that's on them. But and as time comes on, if you got a moment and you want to write them again, until they tell you quit writing, write.
Keep writing.
If your children, if you don't see your kids because of the bridges that you burnt there, write them. And if you never get to mail the letters, save them. Because one day you're going to be able to see your children and you're going to be able to tell them, I did write you. I never forgot you.
So when we come back, we're going to talk more about your kids and how writing letters, and actually even just writing letters to your spouse and building a healthy relationship that way, impacts your kids. So stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
When I get all steamed up, then I shout.
Tip me over and pour me out. Oh. The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Cheers. Take time to be a dad today.
Welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron.
And I'm Cathy. And today we're talking about how to leverage letters in order to build a strong, healthy relationship.
You know, having a relationship from prison, as I always said, it's the hardest thing you can do. Letters make it easy. Letters make it a way, and we call it slow mail today, but you know what? That anticipation, waiting for the letter, and then when you get it, and it's a feeling that is of excitement.
And it's a feeling that cannot be replaced by email. I mean, we know that email is going into the institutions, and you're getting emails and sending emails, and it's instantaneous. But there's something different about actually
a handwritten letter.
Coming in the mailbox and opening up that envelope, and that whole experience of opening up that handwritten letter. There's nothing like it.
You know, I remember waiting for a letter. I would write maybe 3 to Cathy's 1 for a minute. And I had to come to a place of not taking it personal because Cathy was busy building something for us out there. And I had to come to terms with that, you know what? I'm not out there building our home. You know, we have a saying as a TYRO, real men don't play house, we build them. And my portion of that, of building our home, was to be that chief encouraging officer, writing the letters to Cathy, encouraging her that she can do it, she can make our dreams come true, despite the distance between us. You know, so when I didn't get a letter, it was okay because I knew what she was doing. I knew she was building a better tomorrow for us today.
And I think something else that's important to note about letter writing is that there are all kinds of different letters. So Ron would write letters that were just like checking in, and this is who I am, and this is what I'm thinking, these are my dreams, my aspirations, and really revealing himself to me. And then sometimes he would write letters that were really focused in on, I know you're going through a hard time, here's some encouragement for you. And sometimes he wrote letters as friend, and sometimes he wrote letters as love letters to me. And all of those letters just built upon each other and filled all of those different banks or buckets or tanks inside of me that kept our relationship healthy and thriving. So if you're only writing love letters, stop that. If you're only writing letters about friendship, stop that. You have to be addressing all of those areas and challenging and encouraging each other mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually.
So now writing letters to our sons, I remember a time when the boys would come to visit and we learned how to play chess, and we'll talk about that more later. But then we began trying to practice playing chess via letters, Blake and I did. Now it didn't last very long because it is tedious, and so we were just learning to see if we could even do it. But that was an exciting thing for me to do with my little boy, to see if we could play chess through the letters. When we played other games in the letters, we would just try to be creative. You know, my boys are 8 and 9 years old.
So how do you want your children to respond to getting a letter from you? Do you want them to be excited and run upstairs with it? Do you want them to be joyful about getting that letter from you? Or do you want them to be like, oh, great, another letter from Dad. I wonder what he's gonna, bug me about now. What is he gonna lecture me about now? The same experience, they live that vicariously through watching as the mother of your children opens up that letter and her response to that letter and how her attitude or mood changes. They can either be like, uh-oh, watch out, Mom got a letter from Dad today, it's not gonna be a good day. Or they can be like, wow, Mom got a letter from Dad, right? Knowing that it's going to be a joyful experience and a moment in their life.
So your words have that type of influence or that type of power.
A lot of power.
You know, you can set the tone for the entire week, the entire month by one encouraging letter. Not a letter of dread or a letter of judgment, a letter of saying how it should be when it's not that way, but a letter of excitement, a letter of anticipation, a dream letter, of a letter of tomorrows.
You know, some of our favorite moments while Ron was in prison weren't just reading the letters that he wrote specifically to Blake or Brandon, but me reading to them things that Ron would write to me about them. And so as he's building our relationship, he would say things like, you're doing a wonderful job raising Blake and Brandon. I noticed that Blake, is standing up so straight and so tall, and I'm so proud of him that he got good grades or whatever it was. And so I would stop and say, hey, Blake, come here. Let me read to you what Dad wrote about you in the letter he wrote to me. And Blake would say, that's not a letter to me. And they're like, no, it's for me. So then it encouraged them further because they knew that maybe they thought that Dad would write them things to just make them feel good. But if he was writing just to me, they knew that he thought that they wouldn't necessarily see it, so that it had to be true. So as you're building a relationship and being transparent and building a healthy family, know that it's reaching further than just Mom. When you're investing in Mom and you're investing in us, it reaches down into the hearts and minds and souls of your children and into their children. So this is a generational plant, a generational investment. And if you look at it that way, you won't just write frivolously, you will be intentional about how you're writing.
And so say your children aren't writing you letters, but what can you do to encourage them to send you something, a picture that they colored? The pictures speak 1,000 words, right? So if your sons or your daughters are coloring in the coloring book, and they send you something and they sign it and date it, that's a letter. And as you cherish that and you look at it and you put it up on your wall of your cubicle or wherever you're at, that's a visit from them. They sent you a part of them. So when you respond back to them, encouraging them that you love the picture that they colored, you love the words or the card that they sent you, you don't always have to send a letter. I know I always had guys who would make cards, and I would ask them to make a specific card for Kathy, specific card for the boys on their birthdays or special holidays or something that came up, and I would send the boys cards. And they wouldn't be a big letter, but it'd be a nice little paragraph, and whether Kathy read it to them or they read it, it was me signifying to them that I see you, I know you, and I'm here for you. And that's what they need to hear, dads. That's what they need to hear. Men, for those of you who don't have kids, and those of you who are waiting for that opportunity or that assignment when you do find Mrs. Right, and when you're ready now to make that type of investment, to be a healthy man, to be a healthy father, a healthy husband, these are the principles that you're practicing inside here that would transcend outside because you're now a man of honor. If you sign up for the TYRO program, we will help you understand how these principles work and how you can activate them in your life every day because practice makes permanent.
So we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to give you, once again, as our ending segment, 3 practical tips of things that you can do right now to ensure that you're leveraging every opportunity to connect to your family through your letters. So stay tuned.
Completion of TYRO Dads is just the beginning of the opportunities available to you. As a TYRO dad, you will be eligible to participate in workforce strengthening services to help prepare you for employment and open the doors to economic stability for you and your family. The workforce strengthening program starts with job ethics training. Once completed, you may be eligible to receive training to acquire your commercial driver's license while still inside prison. If getting a CDL is not for you, then there is also a welding training program you may be eligible for. As more programs are being added, there really is something for almost everyone.
If you think you have what it takes to be a TYRO or just want to know more, contact your local Ridge Project facilitator or your caseworker.
Welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron.
And I'm Cathy. And today we're talking about how to leverage your letters in order to build a strong relationship.
Leveraging letters is key to having an impactful, significant relationship with your loved ones, with your wife.
With your wife or your mother of your children or your partner.
You know, so the three things we want to leave with you today is we're going to call it TNT. The first one is twice. Right. Twice a month, no matter what is happening around you, you make sure you block the time to write 2 letters a month, regardless of whatever's happening to your family.
That's right. And that doesn't matter if they're writing you back. You write those letters. Unless they write to you and say, stop writing me, unless you've got some sort of restraining order, then don't do it. But if it's just that they don't have the time and they don't have the energy, then that's okay. It is busy out here, so you continue to make that investment so that you can reap the return on that investment later.
And the neat one is neat, TN. If you're writing sloppy, guys, stop it. Take the time to reteach yourself how to write neat. People don't want to work reading your letter.
And I'm going to also add another N, not just neat, but also nice. Because we don't want to get a letter. Nobody on the outside wants to get a letter that says, why didn't you show up? I can't believe you didn't come. You know, you're so lazy, you know, send me $20. Like, nobody wants that letter. And so when you're thinking about what you really are investing into your future, then make sure that it's neat and it's nice.
Yeah, TNT. So the last one is tank. You know, there's a lot of different compartments that need to be dealt with in a relationship, but you don't want to focus on just one. You don't want to just focus on one. You know, if you're writing love letters to your lady, just don't do that. Write letters of encouragement. But not only letters of encouragement, just check in. Keep it simple. You know, you don't have to get too deep in a letter, you know?
That's right. Sometimes we just want something light and fun and encouraging that's just going to help us get through the day. We don't always want to have to think really hard and read about all these philosophical things. Sometimes that's great, but not every single letter. So when you're writing your letters, think about the tanks, the emotional, the mental, the physical, and the spiritual, and seek to fill each one of those tanks.
You know, writing a letter in a simplistic form where it's just keeping it really surface, that's good, and it has its place, but then there's a time where you want to open up your heart and tell your wife what it is you're looking at, what it is you're thinking about, how do you see tomorrow, what does it look like to you? And there's another time when it's, you know what, I mean, combine the two together. Or you want to talk about business, or you want to talk about budget. You know, these are a lot of different tanks, a lot of different places to go in a relationship, but be mindful to not try to be so heavy in one.
Be intentional about investing in that relationship. And so we want to thank you for joining us on this journey through this series, Building Healthy Relationships in Spite of Incarceration. So we've talked about culture and how culture can either affect or infect relationships. And we've talked about trust and the importance of rebuilding trust.
Now we just finished talking about letters and what it takes to really manifest a healthy relationship. And we also talked about phone calls.
Right.
Phone calls. And guys, listen. You're in a place where your world isn't as busy or as hectic as your loved ones are. So always keep that in mind. You know, be mindful that the investment you're making, your return, you may not see it right away, but I promise you, as you continue to invest with a healthy mental attitude, your return of investment will be 100-fold.
So tune in next time, and we're going to hit that most important one, the real opportunity to really invest, and that's your visits. So thanks for joining us today on TYRO TV, and always remember
that we are rooting for you.
I am a man of honor.
I am a man of integrity.
I am a man of faith. I am the antidote.
I am a man of discipline. I am a leader.
I am strong.
I am a man worth following.
I am a TYRO.